Hello and welcome to this special edition of Restarting India. I'm Shireen Bhan. We're in conversation with a man who knows how to navigate his way through a crisis. Suresh Narayanan, the man who is steering Nestle to greater heights in India, joins us now. Mr. Narayanan, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us here. You know, we've been speaking with your peers as well, sir, and as far as the FMCG sector is concerned, perhaps have been relatively unscathed through this COVID crisis. Take me through what the situation currently is like as far as Nestle is concerned. I'll start by asking you on the back end, what degree of capacity utilization are you currently at? And then I'll talk to you about demand.
Thank you, Shireen. As always, a pleasure talking to you and being on your show. I think as far as the capacity utilization is concerned, I'm happy to inform you that we are upwards of 90% now. Across our 8 factories, we are going more than 90%. We are maintaining all the norms, the strictest norms as far as social distancing is concerned, as far as hygiene is concerned, as far as thermal checking is concerned, as far as keeping an eagle eye on the health of our employees. And therefore, the labor complement clearly is well below 100%, but that is to be because I believe that responsible manufacturing under the circumstances is really what we have always had, and that's what we are always beholden to do under the circumstances.
Okay, so operating at more than 90% capacity. What about demand, Mr. Narayanan? Because, what we saw for several of your peers as well through this COVID crisis is that there was, in fact, a surge in demand. In fact, many of your competitors saying that they haven't witnessed these kind of numbers, or at least, for the last many years. What is the demand outlook now? Do you believe that there is a degree of normalization that has crept in?
Just a brief, Shireen. I think there are probably 4 important trends that we have to keep in mind when we look at the consumer. I think the first thing is the balancing of the in-home consumption versus out-of-home. I think that has been a very clear shift in favor of in-home consumption. So all brands that have got a positive outlook on in-home consumption stand to gain. Number 2 is that there has been an increased emphasis on brands that are trustworthy, that are quality, known for their quality, known for their safety, and also known for better nutrition. I think those brands also are doing well. Because of the unfortunate impact on unemployment, job losses, wage cuts, etc., there is a distinct trend of downtrading that has started in the market. So that is the third trend that's happening. Still, people are having their indulgences. I think the premium brands are still doing relatively well. And finally, of course, the entire digital connectivity, Shireen, has exploded. I mean, I think the kind of explosion that's taken place in digital activation, digital information seeking has been far higher than what has happened. Okay. In this context, I think as a company, we've had a surge in demand for some of our categories. Milks and nutrition especially has done extremely well. Maggie noodles, there was almost a 20-25% surge that suddenly happened, and obviously, we were scurrying to try and meet the demand. So across categories, coffees have been doing well. So by and large, our categories have held up during this pandemic.
That's a very comprehensive breakdown that you've given me, Mr. Narayan. But if I can pick up on some of those specific points that you talked about, you said that there is a distinct trend of downtrading. Are you seeing this in any particular categories, or is this across the board? And if this is going to be the trend that you foresee continuing, what will the impact then be as far as pricing strategy as well as margins going forward?
Look, I think Shireen, in the same category, you're seeing downtrading, and you're also seeing some amount of stocking of higher grammage packs. I mean, if you look at Maggie noodles, there is a tendency for people to pick up the single packs and also to pick up the 24 cakes. So both of it is happening, some for stocking purposes, some for consumption purposes. I think as we go forward, this will tend to normalize a bit. I think pricing powers will be a lot more muted under the circumstances, because those companies which are interested in generating demand would want to do so under the difficult circumstances. Okay. I think there will be, you will see that brands will engage a lot more the single pack users, the small pack users, and especially in rural India, where I believe that that demand will probably start a little bit bouncing back a bit ahead of what even urban India might have. You will see this trend accelerating in the coming months.
Okay, two important issues that you brought up there. So let me pick up on the first one. You're saying that pricing power will be muted. What will that mean then? Are we likely to see you being forced to take cuts, at least across some segments and some categories, or review your grammage strategy as well? And when you talk about rural India, and that is the belief that most people are working with, that is probably going to lead the recovery, what are you going to do specifically to deepen your penetration there? Because about 25% of your revenue comes from the rural market.
Look, I think one of the things, let me handle the rural piece first, Shireen, if you mind. I think, one of the advantages that we have seen in the last almost 10 quarters, and, we were probably one of the very few companies that had a double-digit growth in the March quarter, and also with growth in profits. One of the things that we have been noticing in the last 10 quarters has been an acceleration of demand, especially in the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns, and also in the rural markets. And I think that is an encouraging sign, because rural consumers also are looking at good brands, at good quality, good safety, and good nutrition as far as their families are concerned. So this is a secular trend that we are seeing, that also we are working on at the moment. I mean, as the market access improves through the pandemic, I think our own pace of accelerating growth in the smaller towns will also improve. And now coming to pricing part, the reason why I say it is muted is companies will have to make a choice that, look, do you want to utilize the opportunity to accelerate your demand base or stimulate your demand base through volume consumption, or are you going to look at some short-term value gains in terms of organic growth? I think that is where companies will start to balance out. If I get a certain threshold level of base demand in terms of volume, then I might choose to, in some of my brands, depending on the commodity prices and depending on various other circumstances, look at a play on the prices. But when I'm going to be struggling for base demand, when there is going to be a muted demand situation or an uncertain demand situation, that is really not the time for me to start putting my entire pricing play to force. In fact, the opposite. I would look at getting in better efficiencies, better economies of scale, and better value delivery in order to ensure that I keep the demand for my brand and for my category going.
So let me address that issue of demand, sir, because as you pointed out that it is uncertain at this point in time. Given the experience that you've seen through the lockdown, and now as we've entered this phase of unlocking and restarting India, what is the kind of volume projection that you're working with? What is the demand outlook that you're working with? And secondly, you talked about efficiencies. Where do you believe that you will be able to eke out more efficiency gains at this point in time? What kind of cost rationalization is the company looking at?
Look, I think firstly, Shireen, the core purpose of this organization and the core focus that I have had as a leader of this organization has been on people. So therefore, people safety, people-related costs, retaining employment, and ensuring that people get their salaries and get their dues on time is really one of the core objectives that I have as a leader at this time. So therefore, my cost management would be more on other costs in the system, whether it is in terms of material costs, whether it is in terms of administrative costs, advertising costs, as the case may be. Wherever I find that the levels of demand are not yet adequate for us to put in a lot more of money behind advertising and promotions, maybe we look at a bit of rationalization. But I think there are different levers at cost management that we can work to, which is what Nestlé is working through, without touching the core area of people. Because I think one thing in the Maggie crisis that I'm very proud of is that I didn't allow a single job to be lost. And during this pandemic, I hope and pray that God gives me the strength to maintain all the jobs that we have got. So I think these are the plays that we will be at in order to ensure that we are competitive. As far as efficiencies are concerned, Shireen, the company is has got enormous strengths, both in manufacturing efficiencies, technical capabilities, in mechanization, all of which, I mean, I'm telling you, my manufacturing capability today is more than 90% with a much lower complement of labor because of the COVID situation. How am I able to do it? I'm able to do it because of inherent process efficiencies, and also in terms of mechanization that is proving to be advantageous at this moment.
Okay. Yes, I know that you very clearly believe in people, purpose and partnerships, but let me ask you about the fourth P, Mr. Narayanan, and that is pipeline. Now, what is the plan as far as product launches are concerned? You've been fairly aggressive on that front. 50 products in the last 18 to 24 months is what the company has launched. You were aiming to do 2 a month. Is that plan still on track? Is that what you're hoping for?
Look, I think Shireen, you've added the fourth pipeline is absolutely something that I'm passionate about, and I think the signature of Nestlé in the last couple of years has been enhanced innovation, renovation. Let me assure you that as I speak to you, all our businesses have now recalibrated their innovation plans to focus on the new reality and the new consumer expectations. I expect to be, and I hope to be, as innovative as I have been. My belief during a crisis is to bat from the front foot and not to retract and not to get into a shell. So therefore, Nestlé will innovate, will continue to renovate, and will continue to bring out meaningful propositions for consumers.
When you talk about recalibrating your innovation pipeline, sir, to cater to the needs of the market post-COVID, what is that likely to mean? Because we are seeing, perhaps at this point in time, a move towards more ready-to-eat kind of products. So what is this recalibration going to entail? And do you still stick with that 2 launches a month target that you've set for yourself?
Look, I think even during the pandemic, we have actually launched products. Shireen, we have launched 3 variants of Maggie noodles on the e-commerce platform. So I think the innovation of the company and the zeal to bring out new products will not die down during this period. By recalibration, I mean on probably 2 or 3 vectors. Number one, on the vector of nutrition. I think we have got. We are the world's leading company on nutrition, health and wellness. There are numerous propositions that we are studying at the moment to build into our products in terms of better nutrition. Immunity is a big theme today for consumers. There are numerous products that we have got there that we are looking at. We talked about down trading, and we talked about affordability as being a key criteria at this time. We have got propositions which are there as well. There are still opportunities in terms of premiumization, in terms of enhanced value to consumers. There are propositions there. So when I talk about recalibrating, I think we are looking at the new consumer trends, which I outlined to you at the start of my interview, and seeing how we can calibrate our launches. So some of them will take place, some of them might be put into the back burner, and some others will come. But there is a very active process by which you will continue to innovate and renovate as a company.
Okay, let me pick up on one of those new launches, sir, and Maggie Poha. Now, you're a man who understands the perils of brand extension. I mean, Maggie is the equivalent of what Xerox is for photocopying. It is synonymous with the noodle category. Do you believe that extending the Maggie brand to something like Poha will work for you?
Look, I think Maggie is known for, noodle is more the outcome. Maggie is known for happy, tasty, pleasant, comforting experience.
Sir, Maggie is noodles. Mr. Narayanan, Maggie is noodles, sir.
No, I know, but that is the carrier. What is the outcome to you is the pleasure and the happiness that it gives you. We have, I think, over this period of time, in all humility, built up sufficient knowledge on the kind of taste palette of Indian consumers, on how we can bring in better quality, more nutritious products to the table. And I think Poha and Upma are ventures in that direction. So I'm very confident that this will meet the requirements of the consumers. Consumers will look at Maggie as a loved brand. Will look at both Poha and Upma as, I do hope, as something that they love. They can have it as a snack, they can have it for breakfast, they can have it for dinner, they can have it anytime, and add to the repertoire of Maggie that they have in their homes with noodles, sauces, masala magic and others.
Well, the jury's still out on that one, Mr. Narayanan. I will check back with you on this. But, you spoke of e-commerce and the e-commerce route being used effectively during the COVID crisis. What is the percentage of sales that are currently using the e-commerce channel, the e-commerce route, and what's your own expectation as you move forward?
Look, I think e-commerce really became a natural choice of consumers when they were locked up at home. And I think it is but natural that the surge in e-commerce would happen. In fact, the surge was far more than what some of the e-commerce players were capable of handling at that time because of various labor, infrastructure, and also permission-related issues. As far as the company is concerned, Shireen, we have really accelerated our play on e-commerce. To tell you point to point, we have doubled our contribution from e-commerce. We were at about 1.5% about a year back. Today, we are closer to 3%. Some of our categories are accelerating very well. Some of the partnerships with e-commerce players is proving to be sustainable, is seen to be robust. And I really look at it as a promising platform. But let me also add here, Shireen, and I'm still an old school man trained in the Kirana shops of this country. And I still believe that, for us, 85 to 90% still comes from the humble Kirana store. And the humble Kirana store will resurrect itself post-pandemic. And you'll find a lot of people going to the Kirana store because of accessibility, because of convenience, because of assortment, and also because the Lalaji knows exactly what you like and provides that to you. So, I mean, I see a scope for e-commerce. I see a scope for the Kirana store. I think the organized trade will have to recalibrate itself.
I'm on your side, sir. I completely believe and agree with you that the premature obituaries that people keep writing of the Kirana store are exactly that, premature obituaries. But let me get a sense from you, sir, in terms of the revenue trend, and you've been sort of tracking about this 10 to 13 to 10% kind of, trajectory for the last several quarters now. What is the expectation going forward? Is that what you believe is likely to continue to be the trend?
Shireen, I mean, whatever might be the sweetness of your talk, I'll not fall into the bait of giving you a forward-looking assessment of where we are. I think we will continue to be a company that performs well under the circumstances. I think the larger vision of the organization has not undergone a change. The commitment to India has not undergone a change. The passion and the fervor for innovation renovation has not undergone a change, and the commitment to people and to people excellence has also not undergone a change. So I think I do hope that in as much as circumstances might keep changing, we will continue to be on the path of excellence that we have pursued.
A quick question that I want clarity from you, sir. Are you looking at any investments in terms of setting up any fresh capacity? Would you require any fresh capacity at this point in time to service any specific markets where you believe that there could be demand that you will need to service? And especially as far as your distribution strategy is concerned, given the fact that everyone seems to believe that rural is going to really accelerate in comparison to the urban, and you suggested that as well. Is there likely to be a much more aggressive push on distribution in the rural parts?
Look, I think one of the things that we have been doing, Shireen, in the last couple of years is post the Maggie crisis has been trying to build back our distribution very strongly. And I think that journey, we have come a long way. And part of that has been to accelerate our presence in semi-urban markets and in rural markets, which also we have done quite well. So I think the path of organic reach and distribution will continue, and we will not detract from that during the course of the next couple of years. And I think that is going to be an important mainstay for us. In terms of investments, as I speak to you, Shireen, our 9th factory, what I call our Navaratna, is coming up in Sanand. Unfortunately, it had a little bit of a gap because of the labor issue on the ground. But the factory in Sanand, which will be our most modern facility, it will be our most digital facility, our most eco-friendly facility, and what I am delighted to say, Shireen, and I hope my dream comes true. It will be the most diverse factory. 50% of the Sanand factory will have females. And I want to debunk this theory that women don't make good engineers and good operators. I mean, they will be better than the best. So we are committed to that, and that investment is very much there. We might be delayed, but not denied.
Okay, so Sanand, and I'm glad to hear that you will have 50% women as part of that new facility that you're setting up, Mr. Narayanan. Quick question, sir, because, you know, there was a list that was drawn up as part of this paramilitary canteen sourcing, which did have some products of Nestlé on it. Of course, that list was later withdrawn because those were imports from China, apparently. Now, given the border standoff, in terms of imports to your supply chain, what is the dependence on China, if any?
Look, honestly, on China, it is negligible. I can safely say that it is not impacting significantly at all. In terms of what we produce and sell in this country, Shireen, just to give you a statistic, 99% of what I sell in India is made in India and made for India. So therefore, I mean, I am as much in the fabric of this country as any other respected player and manufacturer. I think we have Indian factories, we have Indian workers. Starting from me, 99.7% of the employees are Indian. Our farmers are Indian that we collect milk from. Our retailers are Indian. Our consumers are Indian. Maggie is typically considered to be completely Indian, right? So I think as far as our company is concerned, the commitment to India has always been and will continue to remain, whatever be the circumstance.
Mr. Narayanan, you spoke of focusing on nutrition, immunity, affordability, as well as premiumization as part of the trends that you're going to capitalize on going forward. Specifically on nutrition and immunity, can we expect perhaps even inorganic growth? Is there anything interesting that you may want to consider, or will it only be driven by organic growth?
Look, I think Shireen, as a company, we keep our eyes and ears open to the possibility of inorganic growth as well. I will not deny that as a strategy. Till date, of course, this company has been 100% organic growth, its own growth, without any acquisitions. But going forward, if there are relevant spaces, relevant opportunities that come up, I don't think as a company we would not be open to it.
But are you saying that you're actively now scouting to look for brands that may fulfill this promise that you want to hold out to consumers? Because as you pointed out, you haven't done any acquisitions so far. But given the fact that you want to focus much more sharply on nutrition and immunity going forward, do you believe that you may actively look for candidates to fulfill that?
Look, Shireen, I will not give you the pleasure of a super headline by my emphasizing the word the adjective active or passive. The fact of the matter is that one of my roles and that of my team is to be on the periscope, constantly looking out for opportunities. And all I can tell you is that being on the periscope continues.
Well, I thought I'll try my luck, sir. Let me end then by asking you, Mr. Narayanan, you know, what we're seeing happen globally are two trends. One, there is the rise of this aware, conscious consumer, and especially the young consumer, that is forcing global companies to take a position on issues that matter to society. We've seen companies like Unilever, etc., withdraw from social media. We've seen companies like HUL drop the fair in the Fair and Lovely to respond to the consumers' voices as well. Nestle, I know globally, is reviewing some of its categories in markets like Australia, etc. What do you believe this is going to mean going forward? I know that it doesn't have any impact for you here in India, but how do you see this playing out for a company like yours?
Look, I think one of the idioms that I believe in is that in as much as companies exist to provide growth, employment, and profits and returns to shareholders, they also are here to seek to serve the community. So I think societal values, changing societal norms, and the ways in which coming generations look at various issues is important to companies and should be important to companies. And I think that what you're seeing now is a resurgence of various wrongs, some of them perceived, some of them actual, some of them globally relevant, some of them locally relevant, playing out. And I think a company that is completely insensitive to it is likely to find its own brand franchise and equity diluting over a period of time. So I think companies are very conscious about it. Certainly, I as an individual, I'm conscious about it in the context of Nestle. And what we try and do is to try and do as much of good as we can, whenever we can, however we can, and in whatever manner we can.
Well, Mr. Narayanan, you've certainly done well for shareholders and your other stakeholders as well. Thanks very much for joining us here on this edition of Restarting India to give us a sense of where things currently stand as well as what the road ahead looks like. Appreciate this conversation and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Shireen. Thank you, as always. A real pleasure talking to you. I recall that my first interview with you was during the Maggie crisis.
Yes.
We have come a long way, and I'm happy to talk to you today as well. Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed, sir. Appreciate that. Well, we will take a break. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a moment right here on CNBC TV 18.